Deep within the echoing silence of the Perseus Sector, a human research vessel, Nova Horizon, floated like a lonely speck amidst a vast emptiness. Dr. Elisa Marlow, a xenobiologist, had just finished cataloging what she assumed was another harmless space anomaly, a faint pulse of blue energy emanating from a distant asteroid. What she didn't realize was that the pulse wasn't a natural occurrence. It was a message. Dr. Marlow, anomaly stable. Her assistant called out from across the lab. The faint hum of the ship's engine was a comforting background noise, a contrast to the alien unease Elisa felt in her chest. Just as she was about to return to her quarters, the anomaly spoke. A low, metallic voice rippled through the ship's comm system. Human detected. Initiating contact. The docking bay of the Nova Horizon was a cacophony of noise and controlled chaos. The alien craft, now affectionately nicknamed Silver Dart by the crew, loomed in the center of the bay like a gleaming predator. Its surfaces shimmered, reflecting the nervous faces of the assembled humans. Elisa stood at the forefront of the group, clad in her dark blue research uniform, her expression a mixture of awe and trepidation. The ship's boarding ramp extended with an almost organic movement, unfurling like a metal pedal. "Everyone hold position," Captain Ria Fernandez ordered, her voice cutting through the uneasy murmurs of the crew. From within the ship, the alien emerged. It moved with a feline grace, its sleek form rippling with subtle lights that danced across its obsidian-like skin. Its elongated limbs and digitigrade legs gave it an imposing yet oddly elegant silhouette. When the alien waved, its large, luminescent eyes scanned the room. The crew froze, unsure of what to expect. Then it spoke in a voice that seemed to vibrate through the very air. "Do not be alarmed, humans. I come in peace and sport. My designation is Rix, champion of the Yaran Games. Who among you dares accept my challenge?" The silence that followed was almost comical. Crew members exchanged confused glances, and even Captain Fernandez seemed momentarily dumbfounded. Elisa couldn't stop herself. She let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Is something amusing, human?" Rix asked, tilting his head. Elisa stepped forward before she could think better of it. "You want to challenge us to a game? That's why you came all this way." "Yes," Rix replied with the utmost seriousness. "Your broadcasts speak of cunning, strength, and companionship. Your game shows and sporting events are transmissions I have analyzed in great detail. Humanity values such things. As the foremost champion of my people, I am here to find the finest of your kind. You, human, appear competent. I choose you." Elisa blinked. "You choose me? I don't even know what we're playing." Rix waved a clawed hand dismissively. "The nature of the game matters little. Your species thrives on challenge. We begin immediately." The alien extended one hand, and a holographic sphere materialized between its clawed fingers. In a single fluid motion, Rix tossed it into the air. The sphere expanded, projecting an intricate, glowing environment around the docking bay. Metallic platforms appeared, shimmering with faint green light, while moving obstacles buzzed with the energy of some unknown force. "Game 1. Evade capture," Rix declared, a grin spreading across his face. Elisa's jaw dropped as Rix lunged forward, his speed inhuman. "Wait, I didn't—" Before she could finish her sentence, she was forced to dive behind one of the glowing obstacles as Rix's clawed hand swiped just above her head. The arena erupted into chaos as the holographic platforms shifted and spun, their positions changing every few seconds. Elisa scrambled across the shifting platforms, her breath coming in short bursts. The game was a strange combination of tag and an obstacle course. Every time she found a moment's reprieve, Rix would appear out of nowhere, his movements eerily silent despite his size. "What kind of game is this?" she shouted, narrowly dodging a shimmering net that Rix had tossed in her direction. "One that tests agility, strategy, and wit," Rix called back, his glowing eyes fixed on her. Elisa realized quickly that this wasn't just about running. The platforms themselves offered clues, patterns in their movement, safe zones that pulsed in blue, and hazards that glowed red. She began to anticipate their shifts, using them to gain a fleeting advantage. "Impressive," Rick said as she slid under a low-hanging barrier, avoiding a pulse of energy aimed at her. "You adapt quickly. Most competitors would have been caught by now." "Gee, thanks," Elisa muttered, her heart pounding. As the game continued, Elisa found herself doing something she hadn't expected. Enjoying herself. The adrenaline, the quick thinking, the bursts of laughter. It was exhilarating. Rix's enthusiasm was infectious, and his laughter echoed through the arena whenever she outmaneuvered him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Elisa managed to reach a glowing green platform marked with a yarn symbol. The holographic arena shimmered and dissolved, leaving behind the ordinary docking bay. Elisa collapsed onto the floor, panting. Rick stood over her, his grin as wide as ever. "You performed better than I anticipated. You are worthy of my attention. Human." "Glad to hear it," Elisa wheezed, wiping sweat from her brow. "But next time, a little warning would be nice." The alien's code. Later that day, Elisa found herself sitting across from Rix in the ship's mess hall. The alien had already managed to win over several crew members with his charm and unrelenting optimism. But Elisa still had questions. "What's the deal with this Playmate for life thing?" she asked, sipping from a steaming mug of tea. Rix leaned back, his glowing eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "The yarn value competition as the highest form of connection. A Playmate bond is a sacred agreement, a promise to share challenges, triumphs, and companionship for as long as we both live." "And you just decided this about me?" Elisa asked, raising an eyebrow. "I sensed it," Rick said simply. "In the way you approached me unafraid, in the way you moved during the game. Your species thrives on cleverness and grit. You are the perfect match." Elisa stared at him for a moment before breaking into a grin. "You're a lot, you know that?" Rix tilted his head. "A lot of what?" She laughed, shaking her head. "Never mind. So, what's next? Another game?" Rix's grin returned. "Naturally. But be warned, human. I will not go easy on you. I wouldn't want it any other way," Elisa replied, surprising herself with her own enthusiasm. For the first time in her life, she felt like she met someone or something that truly understood her love of challenge. And perhaps, just perhaps, she wasn't entirely opposed to the idea of being a Playmate for life. Over the following weeks, Rix's presence became a disruptive, albeit entertaining, constant aboard the Nova Horizon. The alien's love of competition extended far beyond the Yarn games. He challenged the crew to everything: card games, strategy simulations, races through the ship's cramped maintenance tunnels, and even an impromptu cooking contest in the mess hall. Elisa, much to her own surprise, found herself drawn into his relentless enthusiasm. One evening, after a particularly exhausting session of Yarn Core Hunt, a chaotic scavenger hunt involving holographic artifacts and moving hazards, she confronted Rix in the observation deck. "You know," Elisa said, her voice tinged with mock annoyance, "you're going to wear out the crew if you keep this up. Even humans need a break." Rix turned to face her, his glowing eyes reflecting the distant stars. I thought humans thrived on challenge. Have I miscalculated? No, you're right, Elisa admitted, leaning against the cold metal railing. But we also need time to rest and process. Otherwise, we burn out. Rix's expression shifted to one of deep contemplation. Fascinating. On Yarn Prime, we do not rest as you do. Our cycles are shorter, and our minds are conditioned to thrive on constant stimulation. I forget sometimes that your species is different. Elisa smirked. We're not all as relentless as you, Rix. But that's not a bad thing. If anything, you've reminded me how much fun it is to let go and just play. Rix tilted his head, a soft hum emanating from him. And you, Elisa Marlow, have taught me something as well. Your resilience, your humor. It is unlike anything I have encountered. Guess we're teaching each other. Huh? Elisa said, holding out a hand. Rix hesitated, then reached out to clasp her hand in his clawed one. Indeed human. The bond grows stronger. The playful atmosphere aboard the Nova Horizon shifted dramatically when the ship received a distress signal from a nearby human mining colony. Reports of pirate activity had been circulating for months, but this was the first direct threat in the sector. Captain Fernandez called an emergency meeting in the command center. We've picked up a distress beacon from the colony on Acheron 12. They're under attack from what we suspect are the Scythe Marauders. The room fell silent. The Scythe Marauders were notorious. Ruthless space pirates who raided colonies, leaving devastation in their wake. Can we get there in time? Elisa asked, her voice tight. It'll be close. Fernandez replied grimly. We're sending a distress signal to nearby ships, but we can't wait for backup. If we don't intervene now, the colony's done for. As the crew scrambled to prepare, Rix approached Elisa in the corridor. Pirates, your species' word for dishonorable scavengers. That's one way to put it, Elisa said, strapping on a utility belt. They're dangerous, Rix. This isn't a game. Rix's eyes flared a sharp green. I am Yarn human. We do not falter in the face of danger. You have my word. I will not let harm come to you or your people. The Nova Horizon arrived at Acheron 12 to find chaos. The colony was ablaze, its defense turrets struggling to fend off sleek pirate ships that darted through the atmosphere like hungry wolves. The Nova Horizon's weapon systems roared to life, providing cover fire as drop pods launched toward the surface. Elisa, Rix, and a small team were among the first to land. The scene was harrowing. Colonists huddled in makeshift shelters as pirates looted supplies and destroyed infrastructure. Stick to the plan. Captain Fernandez's voice crackled over the comms. Secure the main colony hub and hold until reinforcements arrive. Rix moved like a force of nature, his sleek form darting between cover. With a flick of his wrist, he deployed an array of glowing orbs that created energy barriers, shielding the colonists from enemy fire. Elisa followed close behind, her pulse rifle humming in her hands. Nice work, Rix. Keep it up. The alien grinned, his voice full of excitement. This is exhilarating, human. Your ingenuity under pressure is truly admirable. Less admiration, more action. Elisa snapped as she took out a pirate drone with a well-placed shot. The battle at Acheron 12 reached a fever pitch. The colonists, bolstered by the arrival of the Nova Horizon's crew, had managed to push back several waves of pirate forces. Still, the pirates' relentless assault left little room for hope. Their command ship, a jagged monstrosity bristling with weapons, hovered menacingly over the colony's main power generator, directing the chaos below. Elisa crouched behind a pile of debris, her pulse rifle hot in her hands. The acrid smell of burning metal filled the air, mingling with the cries of frightened colonists. "This is getting bad," she muttered into her calms. "Captain Fernandez, we need a new plan," came the voice of Lieutenant Harlow, her tone sharp with urgency. "We can't outlast them," Fernandez replied. "We'll have to disrupt their command structure. Suggestions?" Before anyone could respond, Rix's voice cut through the chatter. "Their command ship is a weakness. It relies on proximity to the colony's systems to override your defenses. If we force it away, the others will fall into disarray." Elisa blinked, glancing at the towering alien crouched beside her. "You think we can do that? Their firepower is insane." Rix's glowing eyes brightened, a sure sign that he had a plan brewing. "Not we, Elisa Marlow. I can do it, with your help." "Of course," Elisa sighed, shaking her head. "This is going to be reckless, isn't it?" Rix grinned, his sharp teeth gleaming. "It would not be worth attempting otherwise." The plan, Rix explained his strategy in hurried detail. The colony's generator, designed to power industrial equipment, could be reconfigured to emit a high-frequency energy pulse. If they could overload it, the resulting surge would disrupt the command ship systems, leaving it vulnerable. "The catch?" Elisa asked, her voice laced with suspicion. "The generator is somewhat volatile," Rix admitted. "If the energy is not calibrated correctly, it will explode." "Of course it will," Elisa muttered. She tapped her comms. "Captain, Rix and I have a plan to take out the command ship, but we'll need cover." "You've got it," Fernandez replied immediately. "Do what you need to do. We'll hold the line here." Rix and Elisa sprinted toward the colony's generator, dodging enemy fire and leaping over debris. The massive machine stood in the heart of the colony, a towering structure humming with latent power. Rix immediately began interfacing with its control panel, his clawed fingers ablur as he accessed its systems. "I need 2 minutes," Rix said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Elisa raised her rifle, scanning the area. "You've got one. Hurry up. A high-stakes defense." The pirates seemed to sense that something was amiss. A fresh wave of enemies surged toward the generator, their weapons blazing. Elisa gritted her teeth and opened fire, picking off the advancing soldiers one by one. "Rix, they're closing in," she shouted. "Almost there," Rix called back, his focus unwavering. Elisa's heart pounded as she emptied her rifle's clip and reached for a grenade. She lobbed it into the densest cluster of enemies, buying Rix precious seconds. The generator began to glow, its hum rising to a deafening pitch. Rix stepped back, his arms spread wide. "It is ready. When I give the signal, you must hit the release valve. What happens then?" "We run." The detonation. Rix's timing was impeccable. As the pirates closed in, he shouted, "Now!" Elisa slammed her fist onto the release valve, and the generator unleashed a massive pulse of energy. A wave of crackling blue light swept through the air, striking the pirate command ship with devastating force. The ship's engine sputtered, its weapon systems flickering as the pulse overloaded its circuits. Moments later, a chain reaction ignited its core. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The remaining pirate ships, leaderless and panicked, began retreating. Cheers erupted from the colonists and the Nova Horizon crew as the tide of the battle turned. Back aboard the Nova Horizon, the crew gathered in the mess hall to celebrate their hard-won victory. Elisa sat at a table, nursing a cup of hot tea as she watched the jubilant colonists mingling with the crew. Rix, ever the center of attention, was regaling a group of engineers with an exaggerated retelling of his heroic exploits. And then, with the pirates closing in, I said to Elisa, "Trust in me, human," and she did. Together, we were unstoppable. Elisa rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a grin. "You're impossible," she muttered under her breath. Later that evening, Elisa found Rix in the observation deck, his usual exuberance replaced by a rare moment of quiet reflection. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing out at the stars. "Not like you to be so quiet," Elisa said, joining him. Rix glanced at her, his glowing eyes soft. "Victory is satisfying, but it also brings clarity. Today, I saw the strength of your people, not just in battle, but in unity. You fight not for conquest, but for each other. It is admirable." "That's humanity for you," Elisa replied. "Messy, stubborn, but we stick together." Rix tilted his head. "And you, Elisa Marlow, you risked much to help me. For that, I am grateful." Elisa smiled. "We're a team, Rix. That's what playmates do, right?" Rix's grin returned, as wide as ever. "Indeed, the bond is sealed. From this day forward, we face every challenge together. Playmates for life," Elisa said, extending her hand. Rix clasped it firmly, his expression sincere. Playmates for life. As the stars stretched out before them, Elisa couldn't help but feel a profound sense of connection. Rix wasn't just an alien rival or a quirky companion. He was a true friend, one who had shown her that even in the vastness of the universe, the bonds of trust and camaraderie could bridge any distance. Together, they stood ready to face whatever challenges the cosmos would throw their way.